Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, rules first. Cell phones and HDs to stun. Always my bug. We go to church, you know, and all during the whole sermon it's just dingle, dingle, dingle. Okay, yes, I'm Rick, and I'm still your section manager. Can't seem to get out of the building. I share a common problem. How do you get out of this once you get in? They never tell you about that. No. And yes, it's been a fabulous year here in Arizona. I don't know. I have no idea why. I don't know the recipe. All I know is this place just keeps getting bigger and bigger with hams. And of course, part of that's probably because we have these immigrants that keep coming in over the border. We call them W6s, right?
Yeah. We get them too.
And then, well, and then we have the migrants, you know, that come out just for, and we call those DE7s and DE6s, right?
KL7s.
KL7s. That's. Although Jeannie and I go up there every couple of years, and we met a couple last night. We're gonna hook up with them when we get up there, so we can go fishing together.
Yeah, we were up there this year.
Yep. So, here we go. Of course, I don't work for the American Radio Relay League, okay? I got elected by you people, and so I work for you. I go back and complain and bitch and moan to them based on what I learned going to your meetings, going to sessions like this, all right? So we have forums, and we probably have 14 or 15 or more forums all year long where I go to listen. First I tell you what we're doing, and then you tell me what I'm not doing and what needs to be done, okay? And I take that back to Dick, and I take that, I have a number of other friends, Bob Bitson, who is now on the board back there, and was the head of all of the publications. Well, his daughter goes to U of A, and my daughters both went through U of A, so as soon as Bob showed up with his daughter last year, I said, hey, Bob, your daughter's gonna be here all alone, brand new kid in town. Here's my daughter's 2 phone numbers, each daughter's phone number, and anytime they need any help at all, if the car breaks down, let me know, I'll go jump start it, that kind of thing. So that made him feel good, and so we became buddies. So now, he comes in and makes the University of Arizona the keynote for all the collegiate activities that are going on in the whole nation. So the club there went from 7 to 35 members overnight. So things are growing like a weed here.
How did the daughters do?
She's doing fine. She's doing fine.
They become friends?
Well, yeah. I mean, my daughters they have their own thing. But yes, at least they're able to answer questions. And when you're a brand new lady in town and you know nobody, and you need to know that you can have someone that you can call up and say, you know, where is this place, or who do I talk to when I have this kind of problem? My girls are recent enough, since 2000, to know. All right, first question that everybody always has, and I always hear at all these clubs, is ham radio is dying. I'm sorry, that's not what that shows, is it? It is not dying. It is still growing just fine. A little bit of perturbations there, not much. I always look at what they call second order noise, being an engineer, and that means how much that goes up and down. And you'll notice that's a pretty nice, so we're growing just fine across the United States, mostly in the West. Here's another shot, and that's, yes, let me explain the big dip, and that was, if you'll recall, if I go back to 2006, 2005, the word out was, we're dying. Ham radio's dying. And you can see it is, and right there, it's just going kaputz. And the answer is, then they got rid of code, and they modified the tests. They made them easier. They made them, and I'll talk a little bit about the other changes that happened, not just around the world, but to us. But you can see that whatever that was effective, because we're all growing just fine. Thank you. So what has changed? Well, the world's changing. The world is changing big time. All of a sudden, radio, which everyone said is dying, oh well, you know, radio's nothing, and the answer is, if that's so, how come they're paying billions and billions of dollars around the world for any little tiny chunk of frequency?
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
So the answer is, no, it hasn't. I'm sorry. It's, if anything, in its entire life, radio is much more important. And when I go to get pitches, and I go in there, and there's either a family environment or schools or anything else, and you sit there with a bunch of teenagers and you say, oh, ham radio is out of date, it's passé. And I said, I'll bet all you kids have got cell phones, hold them up. And they all hold them up. And I said, you know what that is? In ham radio, we call that a handy-talkie. That's a 900 megahertz two-way radio that has a lot of extra little goodies in it, but it's still a radio. And in fact, all of you out there are amateur radio people without a license, that's all. And all we want to do is have you get a license.
Yeah.
And that's not hard to do. Boy, when that paradigm shift hits there, the parents and the kids all, really? Yeah, that's what it's all about. Here's my handy-talkie, see? And I can talk just like you can, and I don't even need to punch in phone numbers. I have to punch in frequencies, but no difference. So, and I don't have to pay. Well,
garage door opener and everything.
Yes. But the answer is, these kids, we always say that, how do we communicate with these kids? They don't know anything about, they don't care anything about, what are you talking about? They do more communicating than we ever do as hands, believe me, big time. So it should not be hard. I'm sorry, it isn't hard to teach them how to use ham radio. All you have to do is explain the differences and the unique features of ham radio over a cell phone, and just tell them you're already trained. All we want to do is show you how to communicate effectively, all right? Rather than missing calls and not listening to you. We have ways, we have techniques. We're going to train you in how to work with emergency services and emergency activities and still use either your cell phone or ham radio. So what becomes important is the people themselves and their skills. The kids already got them. I'm sorry, guys. We just got to retrain them a little bit. So ham radio itself has changed. Back in the 60s and the 70s, ham radio was still doing QSOs, having contests, things like that. Nowadays, it's just exploding. It's every time I go somewhere, there's something new that we're doing with ham radio. It's either balloon launches, or it's everything from geocaching, using the ham radio to coordinate geocaching experiences and all kinds of activities like that. But moreover, it's at the community level, where suddenly the communities have discovered, A, they don't have any money for emergency services and for public service activities like bike races and everything. And B, they discover, yeah, but guess what? We have a tremendous cadre of trained operators who have their own equipment, who can walk right in and take command, take charge, and get things done. El Tour de Tucson just finished here back in December and November, and El Tour de Tucson had 21,000 participants. What was it, run by 119 hams? Okay, and that wasn't even, although many of them were a member of a club. What we see the activities being is just individual groups rather than a club activity. We see it being an individual group that runs itself. Just like when you go to the Huma Ham Fest here in 2 weeks, and you're all going, right? That will be run by Jeff Weeks and a group who call themselves the YARC, and they're the committee that does that Ham Fest. And so just like they do back in Dayton, Xenia, we here in Arizona form group activities around a unique group that focuses all year long on that. Bill can tell you that's what they do there too. So ham radio itself has changed. We have changed. Just the populace of hams. Why? Because younger people are moving in, the retirees are moving up in command now, the ladies are moving up in command. I hate to admit it, guys, but here it is. They're here. 22 to 24% of us are ladies. And they're not all in here right now, but I can tell you, around that campfire last night, it was 50% ladies, and they were all hams. My wife, Casey7 GRP can attest to that. But the answer is they're younger, but moreover, it's their focus of what they want to do with their goal is not to make this a hobby. Most of the retirees, they don't need another hobby. They got lots of hobbies. What they want to do is something with the rest of their lives. And that something is public service or making something happen, okay? That's what they've been doing all their lives. And I know when I retired, of course, I had Tom Fagan saying, you're going to be section manager. But the answer is that's what you want to do when you retire is you don't want to just say, gee, I'm going to golf for the rest of my life, oh boy. What you want to do is say, I'm going to go help run some unique activity around here when there's a forest fire. So the first thing I got to do is get trained, and how do I do that? And so I have a lot of success with the elk clubs and all of the different clubs there with having them join so that they can train themselves up and do something for the community. That's where they're all wanting to go. They want part of the action. Yes. And it's not just that. As Frank mentions, we have this phenomena that's going on in Arizona called Jeep clubs. All right? And when they form a Jeep club, all of a sudden it doesn't go from 0 to 10 to 15, it goes from 0 to 150. I mean, the one up in Prescott is over 85 members, and I drove in there one time with my somewhat mildly modified Jeep, and I got laughed off a lot because they got some radical hardware there. But they're the ones that go in and check campsites to make sure when there's a red flag day that no campfires are going on and so forth for the Forest Service, because the Forest Service doesn't have that kind of manpower. That's the kind of activities we got going on, and that's the hams that we're bringing in. That's what they want to do. Okay, what about us? Well, as you can see, with us, it's just
You need a new chart.
well, this is cage 0A. And I told him, damn it, make one for 2020, please. But we're just going off the chart here.
Does the national chart look just like that?
Yeah, you saw it first, right there. There's a national chart. A little noisier, okay? But yes, we're all growing at about a 3.5% to 4%, which is a nice, healthy growth rate. So there's us, right? Nice and clean, and that's because we have an outstanding cadre here in Arizona of VE teams. And just like John Hamm over here, who just finished a session, and he just called, he got on the phone to ARRL headquarters yesterday, cleared everything out, and we kind of impugned them and let them know that, oh, by the way, we got W5YI sitting here and Laurel's taken over. Why can't you get things done? And John got them to submit the stream and they have already got their calls this morning.
Wow.
Yes, this one, right, John?
Good job.
Yep.
Good job.
Wow.
So when you push them hard enough, they will respond, especially when you tell them, John told them, oh, by the way, we have Dick Norton and we have Tom Abernathy, 2 directors here. So if you don't.
How do we get a call for a guy who's on the list? Just passed yesterday.
Well, that's W5YI. That's not ARRL.
And, oh, okay.
So there you have, there's this guy named Gordo somewhere around here. But no, the answer is that's W5YI. Yeah, that.
Are you talking about the ones that tested Wednesday that got calls?
No, these are ones that tested last week at Yuma.
Okay.
That last, what, Friday, I think, John?
Last Thursday.
Thursday, okay. Yeah. So, but to that end, by the way, and Dick will probably mention this, but we had, back in October, again, I had my buddy Bob Intervitson here to visit his daughter, but he wanted to write it off, so we had to. So I brought him to a Laurel VEC session, an ARRL director on the board, and I brought him to a Laurel session just to show him how smooth it could be, just to show him how you can get calls within 45 minutes of the testee handing in his paper.
Wow.
And so we taught him and said, take that back, because we have got to change. And so that's the big thrust. And believe me, having been 12 years as the VE team leader here in Arizona, I know exactly what needs to be done because I watched Dave Anderson sit out here and do it 3 years ago at the Quartzfest. And just sat there and gave the test, and everything was done on software. Everything. I know where it needs to go, and by gosh, that's gonna, when I retire from this job, I'm gonna push to get that done. We will change, and there's no excuse for taking a week to get I'll have your column up and flat. Okay, so, they don't like to see this chart compared to ours back there. That's Connecticut, that's Newington, okay? That's the home of ham radio. All right? They look at us and they don't have a clue what we're doing. They don't have a clue what it means to grow. And albeit they're a bunch of retirees again, but they don't understand community service, and they've been dealt out of the state legislature, they've been dealt out of state and community and county activities. And they haven't gotten in there and infiltrated, and we've done a great job of infiltrating all the way up to the top. Okay. 699. We didn't quite hit 700 this year. That's still 3.9. I'm going to accept that as being just great. We're at 23,000 strong. Like I say, almost 24% are ladies. That's really nice to see, because when ladies like Kathy take over the clubs like they did in Yavapai, everything changes. All of a sudden the books are to the penny and they're always up to date. All of a sudden everything's organized, and has to be. And that's the thing we as guys don't do really well. So it's great to have them there and put them in the right place, and they can run things beautifully. And they make it run just like you get 3 meals a day, all right? We mentioned that we have these W6 immigrants here. But the ones that are coming over are already Carmel trained. They're all ready to go. They say, who do you want to stick me with? What group can I go in? Here, I've got 15 different credentials and everything else. So we're doing really great at recruiting people from California as they come over. But on the bottom there, I had a little fun. I wanted to know, I know we're number 9. Okay, that means we're the 9th largest ham radio state in the nation. And that puts us right up there with the big boys. But I wanted to know, okay, that's fine and dandy, but how do we compare in terms of, is the next guy a ham that you're talking to? And the answer is, that's per capita, and we're number 2. So that means that from the standpoint of how many people there are in this state and how many hams there are, we're doing just fine at growing. We're doing just fine at capturing and holding hams. Not enough, because I want to see us way above the 10%, 11% retention rate after your first set of licenses, and so we're going to work on that too. But as you can see, California itself, 0.29, we're at 0.31. The only one that's better is Washington. Boy, I'd love to go up to Washington State and ask them, what do you do that's so magical that you have such a high count? Of course, Microsoft's back up there. That's my son-in-law and my daughter. But what else do they do that makes it such a populous state in terms of hams? Maybe it's that they're all techies.
7 months of rain doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've been up there. We go up there and visit every time we go to Alaska. We always stop overnight with the kids. But the question is, what is it that hams do? Because every time I go there, I try to get on a machine, and none of the machines are working. But maybe they're just all too close together, and they don't need a repeater that bad. What do hams do here in Arizona that's either unique or? And the answer is, we're doing a lot of emergency and public service activity here in Arizona, and we get good credit when we do it. That's what I love, is the clubs do a pretty good job of notifying at least their local press. We want to do a much better job at influencing east of the Mississippi, i.e. Newington, Connecticut, of all of the things that we do right. Because I keep sending them these pictures of, I just sent everybody in the board and everybody at ARRL back there pictures of the Quartzfest. 1,000 hams sitting here in the desert for an entire week with up to 9 to 10 different activities going on simultaneously all week long, which dwarfs virtually any other activity other than maybe Xenia Dayton itself in terms of total activities. We do a great job. And right 2 weeks later, we're gonna have another, the Southwestern Division Convention right down the road. So the answer is, whatever we're doing it right. And it's not me, don't point at me, you point at people like Jeff Weeks, you